Well, I suppose for me the benefits of Origin Green are really to be able to communicate to people that I'm genuinely involved in something that's sustainable. You know, some people close to my business would probably be aware, you know, that we have certain things that we do to try to, you know, improve our just general sustainability and so on. But without accreditation and without some verifiable proof, it really, you know, it can't go beyond that. So the benefit really is that, you know, once you're accredited, that it goes beyond just the people that are close to you and that you can communicate it to a much bigger audience. From
Stonewell's perspective, we look at a number of advantages from being part of Origin Green. The first one would be that as a craft business, part of our ethos is to consider our environmental footprint, if you like, as regards what we do. And Origin Green gave us an opportunity to actually qualify how much of a footprint we were leaving and then give us a mechanism for actually reducing that. So that was a useful exercise for us to achieve some of the goals that were close to our hearts in relation to the business. And then from a practical application perspective, there are, I guess, two principal ones. One is marketing. There's a great deal of talk about provenance and environmental impact of production processes and so forth in the market, and this gives us a mechanism to actually go out and, if you like, promote our environmental credentials.
Origin Green, it's a fantastic initiative. I suppose the benefits to us as producers is really overseas. It's in our export markets where you know, it's very important that we preserve this image as Ireland as the green island, the food destination. And Origin Green, I suppose having everybody coming together to push the sustainability issue is just, you know, it's something extra there for an Irish food company trying to increase export sales.
We're a small artisan company who lacks a lot of help in the marketing group or needs a lot of help in marketing our products. So being part of Origin Green, that Bord Bia will market our foods out on the export markets, is a huge benefit to us.
I'd say Origin Green is bringing a lot of benefits to the company. First of all, it gives you more credibility as a company in terms of the way you're doing things. It gives you more visibility as well, because there's this logo Origin Green, which actually looks really nice as well, and it makes things easier when you're on an international scenario to sell yourself and explain people what you're doing. Bord Bia is also doing a lot of advertising and initiative to promote the certification, so that helps to bring customers closer to your concept.
In relation to marketing, it's been key to us, and also in relation to the financial aspects. Whilst we've gone through a relatively rigorous process of evaluation, both internally and externally, as regards what areas of our business we were going to identify for reduction in environmental damage, if you like, or environmental impact. What we've also seen as a result of that is there is actually potential in identifying those objectives to actually driving better margin into our business as well. So I guess, if you like, it's a double hit. We get a good conscience from the fact that we're improving or reducing, I should say, the amount of environmental impact that we have as a business. Secondly, that we can obviously go out and tell a great story to the consumer about that, who is increasingly aware of those aspects. And then thirdly, is the financial aspect. If on top of all of that, it can then drive our margins all to the good. I
suppose the greatest challenge was the amount of time that was involved, and kind of came as a shock to think this amount of time was actually going to have to be inputted into Origin Green. Having said that, it was great education for us. There's one person dedicated now to the Origin Green project, and she manages the Origin Green project for us. A lot of these things we were already doing in our business, but perhaps not measuring them in a way that was needed to be measured for sustainability.
I suppose first, when we looked at the Origin Green initiative, we weren't sure how we were going to implement it in our business. It seemed very complicated, and we thought it was going to be very costly. But in actual fact, when we actually looked into it, there was actually cost savings in it. One of the things we actually focused on was our usage of water. Obviously, we grow and wash potatoes, and we use an awful lot of water to wash those potatoes. So an area we focus on was just reducing the amount of water that's required for that process, and that's had great benefits for our business.
Well, I suppose the challenges in adopting the state sustainability initiatives, first of all, were just beginning to do them. But we've been doing those for quite a few years, so we had quite a bit done already. But again, the challenge was getting some verifiable numbers on them. So let's say we had some solar panels on the roof that were generating hot water, but we had no idea exactly how much. So we had to get a chip put into the solar panels just to see how much hot water is being produced there, and then how much it's saving off the total. Because before that, it was just a kind of an unknown number. We knew there was hot water coming off the roof. We could feel it in the taps, but we didn't know. We just didn't know how much. So that kind of thing. It was really about being able to get some verifiable figures that you can then use to set targets, and then aim to improve on those targets even further in the future.
Because we're talking about a small business, a family-run business, and which means that we're all very, very busy doing lots of things all together. Probably the biggest challenge was to focus all the effort in producing this package of information to submit to Origin Green. So having to get all the pieces of information that you needed to put it all together, maybe that was the challenging part. But once everyone is on board, you can do that. It's no problem.
From a small business perspective, you have very limited resource, and the majority of individuals within the business are completely interchangeable with all the tasks that they have to do. So that at any one time, if somebody unfortunately bangs their head, is off for a couple of days, I'm just as likely to find myself pressing apples, adding yeast, as I am to actually going out on a sales call. And so when organisations such as Board B, or any other for that matter, come forward with accreditations, you look at your in tray and you think, how on earth am I going to manage this? And I think that's one of the biggest challenges from a small business perspective, is actually evaluating what does this represent for my business, and will it tick the key boxes, and will I have the time to actually invest in it to make it work? So I would say those are the challenges that faced us. I think in relation to Origin Green, as I mentioned, because our environmental footprint as a business is important to us within the ethos of the business, it was something that interested us. We then went along to a program to learn, or a seminar if you like, to learn about the program, and it didn't sound as though it was going to be such a mountain to climb, and effectively that was the lead-in for us. And then to a certain extent our hand was held as we went through the whole evaluation process and identified the key areas. So if you like, we weren't left entirely on our own. We were given a guideline as to what we needed to do, and we were given useful advice to achieve those objectives. So the overhead wasn't as large as we'd originally feared, which made it more manageable. And then in addition to that, we had the extra support, which enabled us to get the accreditation.
I certainly would recommend Origin Green to others, companies both large and small. I think it'd be, especially probably if you're starting off, if you're an artisan or you're not going very long, it can help avoid costly mistakes. If you're thinking of investing in a certain type of technology, maybe there's something better out there that you could be considering, something that'll be more sustainable, that'll save you money in the long run, that'll, save you effort as well. Certainly in my own experience, there were a lot of things that I did wrong over the years that if I'd known better, I could have done better, and it would have saved a lot of doing things twice. So I think it certainly is recommendable for people to try it.
I would absolutely recommend them. Recommend the whole scheme, the whole certification. There's the communication between the Board BIA people and the company has always been really quick and efficient. Support has always been available. And now there's a series of events which Board BIA is participating to promote the Origin Green brand. So that gives you, it's a very big help.
I definitely recommend it. I think we all need to be rowing in the same direction as food producers in Ireland. I think the big win is overseas markets, and to have, a kind of a shopper that's willing to pay extra for good quality Irish food that's produced in a sustainable fashion is very important, and it's going to take a big part of the future of food production in this country.
The advantages so far have really been in some of the things that Board B have organised for us. So we've had some consultants in to talk to us about various aspects, which has helped highlight some things that we should be working on. We've had a look at just some of the targets that we should be aiming for. We've been to some workshops, and all that has been very beneficial, because it's all the time building up the idea of what is sustainable in your mind and what we should be aiming for. So whereas we don't have a benefit on the output side yet, in as much as we can't go to people and say, look, we're now verified sustainable, so by our whatever it is, the benefits are on the internal side at the moment.
We're a small business. We produce trout, and we also process trout, all in the same site. So the processing factory is pretty new, but the energy bill would be very, very high. So it has been actually through Origin Green that we have started to look at the energy bills, and we know a bit more what ways we have to cut costs, for example. And because Origin Green also implies a 5-year-long plan of sustainability, we have been able to set targets to say, okay, if that's my consumption now, I want to reduce that consumption by 5%, let's say, within a year. So now we have a target, and we know that at the end of this year, things are going to be better in terms of spending on electricity.
Reducing the cost of electricity has been a huge benefit to us in the company. Also our waste management. We've had savings in that area and look forward to much more going forward. It also has, I think, heightened our awareness of the cost and efficiency within the company. I think it's made the whole team much more aware of it, where maybe in the past just management more aware of it, but now everyone's completely aware of the sustainability of the company.
At a farming level, the use of nitrates, we looked at that. We looked at ways that we could reduce the levels of nitrogen we use to grow our crops, and obviously that's had a huge aspect in actually reducing the cost of the amount of nitrogen that's actually put into the soils. So that's had a great benefit to the business.
Origin Green, as a concept and as an idea, it's promoting green growth, it's promoting sustainability, which is what we need today. I strongly believe that that's the right way to go for all the businesses, really. I don't think there's actually many other ways as well, because of the problems that we have today, because of the fact that food has to be, the quality of food has to be assured in so many ways. And Origin Green is one of the few certifications that actually focus on that. It's not only about have you got all your paperwork in place, there's much more to it. So I do believe it's gonna go very far, and it's gonna be very important for all the businesses with that accreditation.
I think the future for Origin Green is actually going to be a core part of how we as food producers market our product overseas as coming from Ireland. I've just come back from a trade mission to the Middle East, where we were trying to promote Irish food, and they actually have to import 90% of the food that they consume. And for us to promote ourselves as a sustainable source for high quality food is very, very important, and it's going to play a bigger role in the future for us as food producers in Ireland.
The most important thing is the credibility of any sort of certification that you're going to get involved with. And there are a lot of organisations within the marketplace which will provide accreditations. And I think that some of them have great value and some of them have little value. And all I would say about Origin Green is, having seen a number of those, Origin Green strikes me as a programme and an initiative which has the quantitative and qualitative measurement tools within it. That means that it won't lack credibility, and that is extremely important, certainly for a craft producer, where the relationship with the customer is so key. There is a great trust built up between customers and craft producers. And if you're going to go and put some accreditation on your product, then you want to go with one that you feel is credible and that will be viable when you're actually speaking to your customers. And I would say in relation to that, Origin Green ticks the box.